Let us start with the chronology. Let us see how the chronology goes. So, in जो आपका chronology है, that is important. Why? To understand history. Okay. To understand history in a lucid manner. All right. So it is important that you are able to connect different time periods. You're able to understand what came when, if something came after, if something came before. And trust me, understanding history is very, very important in your prelims examination, because if you have an understanding of the chronology, if you have an understanding of the chronology, you can negotiate with options. If you know that a certain king did not come during this time period, okay, if you know that a certain king did not come during this particular time period, and he is not perfectly matched with whatever poet there is, whatever place there is. So you know that this poet is from the second, third century, from the Gupta period, and this king is from the ninth century. This matching is not possible. In this manner, you can very well negotiate with the options. So chronology is important both if you're a beginner of history, and chronology is important if you also have read the history already and have not gone through the chronology. Okay. So it becomes important. I hope this is clear. So let us start. सबसे पहले, we have already talked about that in the prehistoric era and prehistoric and early settlement, 2.5 million years, that is 2.5 MYA, to 3300 BCE, you had the prehistoric era. और उसमें से भी, and out of that as well, you have the Paleolithic era at the first, and it is the longest era. Okay, this is what? This is the longest era that we are coming across. And stone tools were found where? The Son Valley. So Son Valley, we read about the Narmada Valley. There was Son Valley as well. There was something which was known as the Potvar Plateau. So all these places, they yielded stone tools, they yielded early human remains. And the archaeologists and the scientists were able to picture what life could have been in the early India. So one thing that you need to keep in mind, there was no kingdoms here. The people, they lived in the group of 10, 20. They were hunter and gatherers. They used to hunt in the forests. They used to gather food, and they used to live in a small group. They used to be nomadic. They used to move from one place to another very frequently, depending upon when the game was available. What is game? Game क्या खेल को कहेंगे? Game is basically जो the meat that you hunt. Okay, game is basically what? It is the meat that you hunt. Okay. Then came the Mesolithic age. If you remember, we talked about microliths in this age. So microliths were the most important tools from the Mesolithic age. They lasted for 4,000 years approximately. And then came the Neolithic age. So Mesolithic age is basically a transitionary period where the movement from one place to another, it was shortened. Earlier, what used to happen was they used to move from one place to another very frequently. Now people started staying at one place for a longer duration of time, but they still were moving from time to time. And then came the Neolithic age, and it is also known as the age of agriculture. And Mehergarh, as we have read, it is a key Neolithic site where early farming tools and crops are found. So when this happened, when the Neolithic age happened, people started to live a sedentary life. They started to be at one position, at one place for a very, 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 very long periods. Their kids, their grandkids, all they started to live at one place. And once the humans learned to stay at one place, we started to grow complex political system. It was not until that humans settled down at one place that they were able to form complex political system. All the kings and the kingdoms and the queens, or whatever you read, all of them were made possible because of agriculture. एग्रीकल्चर की वजह से ही ये जो चीजें हैं पॉसिबल हो पाई. All the Gupta period, Maurya period, Magad period, the Chalukyas, the Cholas, the Delhi Sultanate, the Mughal Empire, it was made possible because of only and only one thing, that is sedentary lifestyle due to the introduction of agriculture. Agriculture led to what? For the very first time, the human beings, they were able to experience surplus. Not every person of the group was now needed for agricultural production or hunting. So what happened? Specialization. Now somebody could have been a soldier, somebody could have been a mason, somebody could have been a hunter, somebody could have been a farmer, somebody could have been a stable boy, something like that, looking after the horses. So when the political system in the Indian subcontinent, it started to get complex, then what we had? We had the Indus Valley civilization. So this is also uh, trifurcated into the early Harappan civilization, because in these times, during this time, particularly, the maturity was starting to happen. People had just learned agriculture and they were consolidating. Okay, so urban development was not very prominent, but it was happening. Then came the mature Harappan phase from 2600 to 1900 BCE. And major cities like Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Dholavira, Lothal, all these cities, they came around this civilization. And urban layouts, advanced drainage, and standard weights started to be used because complexity, please remember, complexity was increasing. Okay, so this is important. जितने हम complex होते जाएंगे, the more we become complex, the more laws we will introduce, the more standardization we are going to introduce. And that is what happened. in the mature Harappan phase, when we consolidated agriculture, we consolidated the concept of surplus. Our small villages, they started to grow into big cities. I hope you have played those games. There are some civilizational games where you start with 3 4 houses in a village rather, and then you grow them into big kingdoms. So very many popular video games are there. I think there is a video game called Civilization. So you start with 2 huts, and then you are tasked with growing it into a big kingdom. So that is what happened. That is what happened here, that the agriculturists of Indian subcontinent, they started with small villages of 3 4 huts. It morphed into these behemoths called Indus Valley civilization cities. People started coming, they started to live together. It provided a sense of security to live together. Why? Because surplus raiding was also happen now. If you had surplus as an early farmer, these savages from the jungles, because at this point, a good chunk of population was still living as savages. So the savages and the barbarians from the jungles, they used to come and attack you and take your surplus for which you had worked hard. So the villagers, they said that, okay, let us live together. Let us pool our resources. And okay, if there are 50 people, 10 of us will be soldiers. 10 of us will work on metal, and the rest of us, they will grow the crops. And that is how specialization started. That is how the city states started to form. The villages, they turned into city states. The city states, they turned into small kingdoms of 4 5 cities. And these small kingdoms, they morphed into the large kingdoms. For example, the Gupta Empire, the Maurya Empire, the Magadh Empire. But it was later down the line. यहाँ तक सबको समझ में आ गया? What is the morphing process? Because this is again important. Yes, you want to ask a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes.
So isn't there also that there is Chalcolithic sites which have been in interaction with I don't know, one particular phase of Harappan culture as well?
Absolutely. So, see, there was no uniform growth. There were certain settlements or certain group of people who were stuck in a different past, and there were certain people who grew in the civilizational scale. So there was interaction. You're very correct. There was interaction between different levels of civilizational developments, and that is why one of the reason was that these civilizational states, they started to fortify themselves because of the attacks from these other barbaric civilizations. All right. Then came the late Harappan phase. Came which? The late Harappan phase, 1900 BC to 1300 BC. It focused on the civilizational decline of the Indus Valley civilization. See, all the big empires, you name it, all the big empires, they had collapsed under its own weight. The Gupta Empire, 200, 250 years collapsed. The Maurya Empire, 200, 250 years collapsed. Okay. Then you see uh, different kind of empires like Delhi Sultanate. Okay. Collapse, then rise, then collapse again, then rise, and then final collapse. Okay. You see France. There are 5 French republics. Okay, there are 5 French republics till now since the French Revolution. So they kept on breaking the French republics. They kept on creating new French republics. Now they are talking about creating a 6th French republic. So all the big empires, they reach their peak and then they collapse. Okay. And then they collapse. So उसी तरीके से, in the similar manner, Indus Valley civilization also started to collapse. The reason we have discussed, possibly climate change and the drying up of the Ghagar River, along which major Indus Valley civilization sites were there. When the major Indus Valley civilization sites got destroyed or they got abandoned, what happened was that the other smaller Indus Valley sites who were dependent upon trade and interaction with these big sites also got abandoned. So it is said that there is a possibility that the Indus Valley civilization people, they became climate change refugees. The first climate change refugees in the world were the Indus Valley civilization people who went from the Indus Valley area to the southern part of the countries. Okay. And that is why in majority of Indians, you will find the Indus Valley civilization gene, the IVC gene, apart from the ANI and the AASI gene, that is ancestral North Indian gene and ancestral South Indian gene. Apart from that, you will also find the IVC gene or the Indus Valley civilization gene. Okay. Then came the Vedic period. After the collapse of the Indus Valley civilization came the Vedic period. It was divided into two, early Vedic and later Vedic. So in 2024 mains, they had asked a question about the difference in lifestyle between the early Vedic period and the later Vedic period. So Aryan speaking tribes in northwest India, they ushered in the early Vedic era, and Rig Veda was composed. And then in the later Vedic period, composition of Yajur Ved, Samved, Athar Veds was done, and the Varna Vyavastha became more defined. In the early times, the Varna Vyavastha was very, very flexible, and the women folk, they were allowed to attend the debates and discussions. In the later Vedic period, it became more stringent, and the women, they lost their status. After the Vedic age came the age of the Mahajanapads. It was from 600 to 321 BCE, and this led to the rise of 16 Mahajanapads. The Mahajanapads were the big city states. They were states which were built around one big capital city. Notable states were Magad, Kosala, Kashi, Avanti, Vrijji or Vajji. And urbanization in the Indian subcontinent, it surged. It went up. New religious ideas like Buddhism and Jainism also started to prop up. This was in response to the Vedic culture, which seeked to pose a strict hierarchy of people. It wanted to tie people in a strict hierarchy, and that is why they rebelled, and Buddhism and Jainism, it came to the fore. Okay, so one thing that is common between Buddhism and Jainism is that they both used the language of the masses. They did not preach in Sanskrit, which was supposed to be the language of the elites. Only the elites were allowed. Then one of the Mahajanapads, the Magad Empire, one of the Mahajanapads was the Magad city state, and this city state, due to its surplus of elephants from the forests of Bihar and better quality weapons due to minerals from the mines of Bihar, it was able to rise and it was able to gobble up different Mahajanapads and build an empire. And under the Magad empire, there were different dynasties. जैसे इंडियन रिपब्लिक है, इंडियन रिपब्लिक है, उसके अंदर यू हैव इंदिरा गांधी, then different rulers came come, right? Like Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Narendra Modi, Rajiv Gandhi, VP Singh, Lal Bahadur Shastri, Jawaharlal Nehru. So different people are there. So just think of it like this, that there is a empire and different people at different time was leading this empire. And yes, this was the first true empire from India, the Magad Empire. And who were the dynasties? The Harayanka dynasty. So you have people like Bimbisara. So please don't get confused between Bimbisar and Bindusar. Bindusar came later. I told you about the in the previous classes about the story how he got the name Bindusara. There was a person called Bimbisara. Okay, and then they shifted the capital from Rajgriha to Patliputra because of strategic. Okay, strategic जो है choice था. Rajgriha was also an excellent choice. Why? Because it was between mountains. It was not very easy to climb Rajgriha. And Patliputra was important. Why? Because it was fertile. It was fertile and it was a water fort. Very good. It was bounded by rivers from three sides. So it was not easy to attack. And then Shishunag Empire, and finally the Nanda dynasty came. The Nanda dynasty was a big dynasty. It had thousands of elephants. Alexander के contemporary थे. They were the contemporary of Alexander. So ये कब तक थे दोस्त? अगर आप देखिएगा 321 BCE. From 321 BCE, the Magadhans, they were dislodged by Mauryans. So the next empire that came was Mauryan Empire, and Chandragupta Maurya, who was a shepherd boy, he overthrew the Nandas with Chanakya's help. Okay, and centralized administration was there. Arthashastra, which was a treatise on governance, was written by Kautilya or Chanakya. Then his son was Bindusar, and Bindusara's son was Ashok. And Ashok conquered Kaling and later embraces Buddhism. And the peak of the Mauryan Empire, it was reached under Ashoka. Ashoka also spread his word via his agents called Dhamma Mahamatas, or the propagators of Dhammas, or propagator of Ashoka's word. Decline. So weak successors after Ashok, and then the final person in the Mauryan dynasty was Brihadrat. And after Brihadrat, there came a Shunga dynasty which was led by the chief of the army of the Mauryan Empire who killed his own king. His name was Pushyamitra Shunga. So Pushyamitra Shunga jo hai, he had a capital at Patliputra, the same place where the Magadhans, the Haryankans had, then the Mauryans had, and finally the Shungas also had at Patliputra. But after the Mauryans, there was disintegration. A lot of kingdoms and lot of empires, they became independent. A lot of states, they emerged from the shadows of the Mauryan Empire. Because Mauryan Empire was such a huge empire, it encompassed from Afghanistan to Karnataka. It encompassed from Gujarat to Bengal. So it was a huge empire. Then you have the Kanva dynasty who succeeded the Shungas, and they were replaced by Satvahanas, who called themselves what? They call themselves the Lord of Dakshinapath. They call themselves what? The Lord of the Dakshinapath. Okay. And they gave patronage to Prakrit literature. Okay. Yes, you can ask the doubt. Wait. Yes, you can ask.
Yeah, so my doubt is this Nanda dynasty, ये जो मगध वाले थे, right? They were mostly North Indian, no? Around Gangetic Plains.
Yes, Patna, Bihar, jo Patliputra is
Hmm.
Patna basically.
I
So
know.
they had
I know,
the
yeah. Now,
they
when
had
you're talking about the Satavahan, can you
Satvahanas
listen?
were Andhrites and Maharashtrians. Maharashtra और आंध्रा का
Right.
जो एरिया था.
So then why are we saying that these people succeeded Magadhans करके? Because they're
Because Magad
geographically, right?
Mauryans, they succeeded
Magadhans.
Mauryans.
Yeah, yeah.
Magadhans were succeeded by Mauryans and Mauryans were succeeded by these kingdoms. देखिए ऐसा होता है ना कि अगर मान लिया that let us say that the Mauryan dynasty had from Afghanistan to Karnataka, they had this area, and now उसमें से बहुत सारे छोटे 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 किंगडम्स निकले. उसमें से एक निकला आपका Satvahanas from the southern part, because that was also their capital was Patliputra. They were originally North Indians, but जो उनका एरिया था वो साउथ तक था ना, तो उसमें से भी a lot of kingdoms came out. So एक बड़ा
So these kingdoms extended till south.
साउथ कर्नाटका, they extended till Karnataka. Okay.
So whatever the region was after the disintegration, जो major empires निकले उसमें से, that's what you're talking about, right?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. जैसे USSR जो था, Soviet Union, when it disintegrated, 15 states 15 states it came out from USSR, small states. USSR was a big empire, is it was a big entity, and then small, okay, small, uh, okay, basically states it came out from USSR. उसी तरीके से यहाँ से भी साउथ से कुछ निकला, नॉर्थ से कुछ निकला. Some raja, small time feudal lord, he asserted and he carved out, okay, the kingdoms. All right, ठीक है. Okay. Then came the Indo-Greeks and the Sakas and the Kushanas. Okay. So Kanishk जो थे, okay, he fostered Mahayana Buddhism. So ये कहाँ पर था? ये अफगानिस्तान की तरफ था. पेशावर पाकिस्तान की तरफ था, ये नॉर्थ वेस्टर्न. This whole Sakas and the Kushanas, they were northwesterns. Okay. These were northwestern. They came from Central Asia. The Scythians जो थे, these people, they were basically the Central Asian migrants. ऊपर से आए थे इंडिया की तरफ, and they dislodged the whosoever was ruling at that time. Okay, ठीक है. Then the kingdoms, these Mauryan Empire, it led to the disintegration. Mauryan Empire, it led to disintegration, and then small kingdoms came, but the consolidation, the next consolidation of a big level happened under the Gupta Empire. And उसमें जो थे Chandragupta the first, Samudragupta, and Chandragupta the second, who was also known as Vikramaditya. These people were involved. These were the kings, and they also had their capital at Patliputra. So you understand how important Patliputra or modern day Patna is for the ancient India. Why? Because if you look at Magad, if you look at Mauryans, if you look at Guptas, all three had their capital at Patliputra. And the thing is that after this, the thing is, after this, Patliputra lost its relevance. This was the final time, the Gupta Empire was the final time that Patliputra was a prominent area. After that, the balance of power, it shifted towards different region and finally it came to Delhi. Okay. Finally जो है दिल्ली की तरफ चला गया. So balance of power has shifted from Patliputra to Delhi. Okay. Then comes your golden age, because Gupta Empire was called the golden age. Why? Because of lot of work in the field of art and literature. आर्ट और लिटरेचर में बहुत काम किया गया था इस समय. आपको हमने बताया कालिदास थे, है ना. टेक्नोलॉजी बहुत बड़ी थी आगे. ओके. देन एस्ट्रोनॉमी, एस्ट्रोलॉजी, इन सब में बहुत ज्यादा. मेटलर्जी वेरी गुड. वी टॉक्ड अबाउट द iron pillar in Mehrauli. The decline happened due to the invasion of the Hunas. Again, these were people who came from the north. These were the people who came from the Central Asian regions, the Huns. And internal decay, as we say that any empire, you give it enough time, it will collapse under its own weight due to incompetent rulers. And then again, India fragments into smaller regional kingdoms. So this happened again. The first, it happened after the Mauryans. After the Mauryans, it disintegrated into smaller regional kingdoms. And then Guptas came, they consolidated. The Guptas came and then they consolidated. And then finally, ये जो है, again, the clock of destiny made it into smaller regional kingdoms. Okay. See, many people say that the Scythians are the Rajputs. This is the first time. Okay. I'm not very sure about Huns, but people say that the Scythians are the Rajputs. Okay. Whereas the Rajputs, what they claim is that there is this theory that we are continuously here. Okay. They say that we are continuously here. We are not from Central Asia. We are continuously here, and that's okay. That's what the whole thing is. Some people say that the Rajputs are Scythians. Some people say they were here since the beginning. Okay. Anyways, now early medieval period. तो यहां तक आपको समझ में आया? गुप्ता डायनेस्टी तक किसी को डाउट है? एकदम लूसिड वे में अंडरस्टैंडिंग बनी पेलियोलिथिक से गुप्ता पीरियड तक. कौन कब आया, किसके बाद आया, स्पेशली पीपल हु आर स्टार्टिंग आउट. क्लियर है? नहीं है तो आप क्वेश्चन पूछ सकते हैं. जस्ट आस्क मी डाउट इफ यू हैव. ओके. आगे चलते हैं. देखिए, लेट एंशियंट पीरियड या अर्ली मेडिवल पीरियड, जो भी आप कहेंगे. सो अर्ली मेडिवल पीरियड में आप देखिएगा, सो हर्षाज एम्पायर बिकेम प्रोमिनेंट. हर्षाज एम्पायर बिकेम प्रोमिनेंट आफ्टर द गुप्तास. सो गुप्ता के बाद आया हर्षा, याद रखिएगा. He came between 606 to 647 and he ruled from Kannauj, and this was a short-lived unification in north. So the Guptas were the last great Hindu rulers in the north. The last great Hindu empire in the north. Okay. After that, the Rajputs, they tried from Rajasthan, from the forts of Rajasthan, but their reign was basically restricted to that particular area only. Sometimes they were able to capture Delhi. They ruled there. You have the Tomars, you have the Chahmans or the Chauhans who tried to rule Delhi, but again it was very short-lived. So basically the Rajputs are known for resistance, not for empires. And the last great empire was the Gupta Empire or the Gupta Empire, which when collapsed, there was a ruler after the Guptas called Harshvardhan, who was from the Pushyabhuti of Thanesar dynasty. Pushyabhuti of Thanesar. Thanesar is a place in Haryana. And Harshvardhan was a Bais Rajput. He tried, okay, Harshvardhan Bais naam tha inka. He tried to unify the areas, but he was not successful. Okay. Then came another smaller kingdoms. I'll not say small kingdoms, but in comparison to the Gupta Empire, they were smaller. So there was something which was known as the tripartite struggle. After the demise of Harsha's empire, there was a three-way struggle for the city of Kannauj. And the Gurjara Pratihars or the Pratihar Rajputs, they came from the west, from the Gujarat area. The Palas, they came from the Bengal areas. And the Rashtrakutas, they came from south. And all of them, they tried to control a central Indian region of Kannauj. So यहां पर अगर मैं मैप बना के आपको दिखाऊं, सपोज दिस इज द मैप ऑफ इंडिया. ये मैप समझ में आ रहा है आपको? बेसिक सा रूडिमेंट्री मैप है. सो सपोज दिस इज कन्नौज. यहां पर आपका जो है कन्नौज है, यू उत्तर प्रदेश में पड़ता है. सो गुर्जरा प्रतिहार्स, दे केम फ्रॉम हेयर, this yellow region. The Gurjara Pratihars, they came to Kannauj. Then came the Palas from the Bengal region. And then from the south came the Rashtrakutas. So three-way struggle. साउथ से राष्ट्रकूताज आए, इधर से पालाज आए, और इधर से कौन आया आपका? गुर्जरा प्रतिहार और द प्रतिहार राजपूत्स. So they tried to control Kannauj, but they were not successful. The Kannauj city, it changed hands between these three. Sometimes the Palas were successful, sometimes the Pratiharas were successful, and sometimes the Rashtrakutas were successful. But ultimately, what happened due to infighting? All the three became weak over time. उसी समय साउथ इंडिया में क्या चल रहा था? सी कंटेम्पररीज का मतलब समझते हैं आप लोग? कंटेम्पररी, द वर्ड कंटेम्पररी मीन्स सिमिलर टाइम पीरियड, सिमिलर टाइमलाइन. सो यू हैड द चालुक्यास from the 6th to 8th century in Badami in South India. Okay. And then came the Pallavas. Pallavas were there from 4th to 9th century in Kanchipuram, and they were famous for the Mahabalipuram temples. Then Cholas, they were 9th to 13th century. So they were the major naval power. Raja Chola, Rajendra Chola के बारे में आप लोगों ने सुना होगा. You must have heard about Raja Chola and Rajendra Chola. And they built grand temples, including the Brihadeshwara. And they were famous for their trade with Southeast Asia, especially the Sri Vijaya Kingdom of Indonesia. Okay. So after this, basically, the Islamic conquest, it started happening from the northwest India. Islam had already spread in Saudi Arabia, and it had already spread in Mesopotamia and Iran. And then they invaded, the Islamic armies, they invaded Sindh. And invasion of Sindh happened. So there was a king whose name was Raja Dahir. Raja Dahir jo the, he basically was the king of Sindh, and he fought Okay. He fought the invaders, but the conquest of Sindh was successful. Good thing was that for at least 400 years, 300 years, they were not able to advance from Sindh. So Sindh का Islamization हो चुका था. The Islamization of Sindh got completed, but due to the resistance of the Rajput dynasties, they were not able to, okay, they were not able to get inside the mainland India, जो आपका हमारा आज का borders है. Finally, what happened was the Chauhans who have their roots in Ajmer and the Sambhar Lake. आपने सांभर लेक के बारे में सुना है? Those who are from Rajasthan, they must know about it. The सांभर लेक और शाकंभरी. So, जो चहमान्स थे, okay, जो चहमान्स थे, they were ruling Delhi at that time, and then there was a pivotal battle, the Battle of Tarai. And in the first battle, Prithvi Raj Chauhan was able to defeat the Afghani Islamic hordes. But in the next battle, the second battle, he was not able to defeat. And finally, what happened was that in India, जो है, it fell into the Delhi Sultanate or finally the Islamic rule. Please don't be confused. The Islamic rule in the initial stages was limited only to certain part, that is the northern part of India. And these Delhi Sultanate people, they were mixture of Afghans and Turkish lineage. Some of them were Afghans and some of them were Turkish. Okay. See, what I'm telling is that Prithviraj Chauhan, he lost the Battle of Tarai. Delhi was captured. Okay. And a person whose name was Kutubuddin Aibak, who was a slave, he was basically instated as the ruler of India. And the entire India was not in his control, but the northern part. Still, kingdoms in the south were there, which were independent, which were Hindu. In the north, the situation had changed. Till Bengal, the Delhi Sultanate had established the Muslim rule. So, सबसे पहले कौन सी डायनेस्टी आई? मामलुक डायनेस्टी. It was established by Kutubuddin Aibak. Qutub Minar सभी लोग गए होंगे. Everybody might have gone to Qutub Minar. So Qutub Minar जो है, that was made by the Mamluk dynasty or the slave dynasty. इसमें एक person था, his name was Iltutmish. And Iltutmish जो है, he was the son-in-law of Kutubuddin Aibak, and then he completed the Qutub Minar. Because Kutubuddin Aibak, he died playing what he was playing? Chess. Was playing Chogan. He was playing Chogan. What was that? It was a form of polo. And he was not able to control his horse and he skid and he died. He fell from his horse and he died. After the Mamluks came the Khilji. The most important ruler was Alauddin Khilji. Okay. And he expanded into the Deccan and introduced market controls. Okay. He established price check. He used to send people to check the prices of goods. And then came the Tughlaq dynasty. Yes, the Padmavati movie, जिसमें रणवीर सिंह ने ये अलाउद्दीन खिलजी जो है उसका रोल प्ले किया था. 2 बार क्वेश्चन भी आया हुआ है खिलजी का 21 and 22 में. Then came the Tughlaqs. And Tughlaq में Muhammad bin Tughlaq and Firoz Shah Tughlaq were 2 important rulers. देखिए जिस्ट है ये, व्हाट आई एम सेइंग हियर इज नॉट इन डिटेल, ओके, नॉट इन डिटेल, दिस इज जस्ट अ gist so that you understand the chronology. Please stop me wherever you find any kind of confusion. Clear it right now. It's a golden opportunity to get ahead on history. Then, after the Tughlaqs came the Sayyid dynasty. It was a period of decline. Why? Because the Sayyids were not very strong rulers, and the Sayyids were replaced by the Lodi. जैसे हमने पढ़ा था that Magad, in the Magad dynasty, there were, in the Magad empire there were many dynasties. The Nandas, the Haryankas. उसी तरीके से दिल्ली सल्तनत में you have the Mamluks, Khiljis, Tughlaq, Sayyid. So there was one empire, the Delhi Sultanate Empire, and other dynasties were there. Finally, the Lodi dynasty was there, and it ends when Babur defeated a person known as Ibrahim Lodi at the first battle of Panipat in 1526. So in 1526, this battle culminated into the defeat of Lodi, and after that, Babur established the Mughal Empire. Okay. It is different. Why? Because Babur jo hai, he is Central Asian, Uzbek. He is from the Fergana Valley. Whereas the Delhi Sultanates, they were Turks and Afghans. Okay. They are Turks and Afghans, तो culture में different आ जाता है. Culture में different आ जाता है. It's like, see, would you say that the Mughal Empire and the British Empire were different? क्योंकि both were ruling from Delhi only. Both ruled from Delhi. The British from the 1911, they were in Delhi. So what is the difference between the Mughal Empire and the British Empire? Obviously, cultural difference आ जाता है. And a cultural difference, what you bring, what kind of sense of aesthetics, what kind of sense of military, what kind of sense of system you bring. Okay, so is the Islamic था, लेकिन cultural भी different होता है. Do you think that an Uzbek Muslim will be same as a Saudi Muslim? Try to understand, है ना? And would you say that a Jammu Hindu would be same as a Tamilian Hindu? There is a difference. Both they do puja, but there is cultural difference, right? So in this case also, both paid namaz. The Lodis and the Mamluks, they paid namaz, and the Babur also paid namaz by looking at towards the Mecca. But the thing is, there was cultural difference from where they belonged. Babur was from the Fargana Valley. He was an outcast. उसको भगा दिया था because his father died. And then what happened was, as a young person, he was shooed away from the Fargana Valley. Fargana Valley is a place in Uzbekistan. It is a very, very fertile valley, and it's a very, very beautiful place. And then from Uzbekistan, he made his way into Kabul. So directly Uzbekistan से India नहीं आया था. He went from Uzbekistan with a small army, went to Kabul. Kabul, there was a lot of chaos and infighting. He took advantage and then he ruled Kabul. So Babur जो है कुछ सालों तक काबुल में रूल किया था. And then he came to the south because there was chaos. He was basically invited. Babur was invited to rule. Okay. There is this thing that Babur was invited by whom? By Lodi's cousin. So आपने देखा, ये समझ रहे हैं, यहां पर ध्यान से देखिएगा. लोधी डायनेस्टी इज द लास्ट दिल्ली सल्तनत डायनेस्टी. सो ये जो इब्राहिम लोधी का कजन था, who was the governor of a Pakistani area, the Peshawar area, he called Babur and he wrote a letter to Babur कि मेरा cousin है, useless है, please come and rule. Why? Because he had a blood feud. He had a blood feud with his cousin. उसको पसंद नहीं था कि मेरा cousin, okay, this incompetent cousin is ruling this big swath of land and I am just a provincial governor. Let me call this person Babar, who is an Uzbeki warlord who is now ruling the Kabul region. And I'll tell him that, okay, he's an incompetent person. I'll tell him the secrets. I'll tell him how to, basically uh, uh, defeat him. I'll tell him that his army is not well prepared and the time is ripe. But Babar came with an advantage. What? Babar came with cannons. And the Lodis had no, basically, the Lodis had no answer to that. He came with Turkish cannons, and Turkish cannons were the best in the business. So Babar जो थे, he defeated Ibrahim Lodi at Panipat. Then बाबर के बाद हुमायूं, briefly ousted by शेर शाह सूरी. So यहां पर ध्यान से सुनिएगा. हुमायूं जो था, his he was the son of Babar, and Humayun, his reign was broken into two parts. Why? Because शेर शाह सूरी कौन था? देखिए, अब ध्यान से सुनिएगा. He was an Afghan warlord from Delhi Sultanate area. So what had happened was that Bihar और Bengal को कंट्रोल करने के लिए, टू कंट्रोल बिहार एंड बंगाल, द दिल्ली सल्तनत पीपल, they had put Afghan warlords who were loyal to the Delhi Sultanate to control the Bihar and Bengal area. When the Delhi Sultanate got dislodged, there was this person whose name was Sher Shah Suri, and he rebelled. He said that I am not going to accept the suzerainty of this person. I am not going to accept this Humayun person, who is the son of Babar, the founder of the Mughal Empire, as my head. Okay. Sher Shah Suri was from Sasaram, but he was Afghan. He was not a Bihari. He was an Afghan warlord. उनके फादर को जागीरदारी मिली थी वहां की. Okay, Sher Shah Suri जो है, he was given the jagirdari. His father was given the, basically, he was made a feudal lord. And Sher Shah Suri was born there, but he was Afghan. He was a Pathan. Okay, ठीक है. आज के डेट में भी you will find a lot of Pathans. खान जो टाइटल लगाते हैं, जो ओरिजिनल होता है. आजकल तो बहुत सारे मुस्लिम्स दे यूज द खान टाइटल, बट जो खान होते हैं, they are the Pathans. Okay, so Sher Shah Suri जो है, he was basically an Afghan warlord who was loyal to the Delhi Sultanate, and he was appointed by the Delhi Sultanate. Now, Humayun was consolidating. He was not an effective ruler, and he was trying to consolidate different areas of his kingdom, and using the chaos, Sher Shah Suri launched an attack. And when Sher Shah Suri launched an attack, it was surprising, and Humayun lost. And then Humayun had to run in 1540. Akbar was born. Okay, Akbar जो है, he was born in Amarkot. There is a place called Amarkot, and he was given refuge by a Hindu Raja. Okay, and Humayun जो है, he ran to Persia. Sher Shah Suri जो है, Sher Shah Suri, he died in a freak accident at the Kalinjar fort. What happened was, Kalinjar fort जो है, it was a very strong fort, and it belonged to the Chandels initially. And Kalinjar fort पे वहां पर एक एक्सीडेंट हुआ, जहां पर शेर शाह सूरी जो है, he ordered the fire of his cannons, और cannons जो है, उसमें से एक cannon फट गया, and he died. The cannon, it blew away, and he died from the injuries within 5 years. And after that, the Sur dynasty, which briefly controlled Delhi, it started to collapse. And finally, Humayun came back again with Persian king's help. उस समय जो ईरान के एरिया का था, and they helped him, and he came back in 1555. He came back in 1555, and then what happened was that here the Mughal Empire resumed. So this is known as pause. Okay, the Mughal Empire resumed. लेकिन पहले he fought with a king known as, okay, so basically यहां पर था क्या, आया वहां से, ओके, आया कहां से, आया जो दूसरी जगह से, एंड पर्शिया से वो गया पर्शिया में, ईरान में, एंड ही सॉट हेल्प. ओके, ही सॉट व्हाट, ही सॉट हेल्प. उस समय दिल्ली जो है इट वाज केओटिक. ओके, दिल्ली जो है इट वाज केओटिक, एंड ड्यूरिंग दिस टाइम देयर वाज अ पर्सन whose name was Hemu. Okay, there was a person whose name was Hemu, and already Humayun had passed away. Humayun जो है he had passed away, and Hemu जो है he was pressuring the Mughal Empire. So they fought a battle of Panipat. They fought what? They fought the battle of Panipat. अकबर जो था, he was a small kid during this time. He was not a uh, person, okay, he was not a person who was ready to take the throne. तो उसका रीजेंट था बैराम खां, जिसको बाद में अकबर ने मरवा दिया. So Bairam Khan fought. Okay, Bairam Khan fought Hemu. Hemu was defeated in the second battle of Panipat. The second battle of Panipat, it happened in 1556, and Hemu was decapitated. Hemu was brought to Akbar, and Bairam Khan, he decapitated. Okay, Bairam Khan was killed while he was sent to. Okay, Bairam Khan was basically conspiring. Akbar got the wind that Bairam Khan, his regent, Bairam Khan was basically a caretaker, because Akbar जो था बहुत छोटा था. So Bairam Khan, he was his caretaker, and when Akbar became of age, 18 साल 19 साल का हो गया, so he had this wind कि हो सकता है Bairam Khan might replace me. So Bairam Khan was sent on Hajj. Mecca भेजा गया था, and he was killed by robbers in Gujarat. Many people say that Akbar ordered his killings. Many people say that Akbar जो है, he ordered the killing, and he adopted, okay, he adopted Bairam Khan's son, who became one of the important courtiers also. Okay, है ना. अब्दुल रहीम खान खाना के नाम सुना होगा आपने. बैराम खान का, ओके, बैराम खान जो है बेसिकली ही वॉज द रीजेंट. रीजेंट का मतलब क्या होता है, केयर टेकर था, बिकॉज अकबर वॉज अ स्मॉल किड. सिंस अकबर वॉज ए स्मॉल किड, ठीक है. सो एक उसका जो सन था बैराम खान का, हिज नेम वॉज अब्दुल रहीम, एंड ही वॉज अडॉप्टेड बाई अकबर, एंड अब्दुल रहीम वॉज मेड, he was made one of the Navratnas, the 9 important ministers in Akbar's court, and he was given the title of Khane Khana. Okay. So Abdul Rahim Khane Khana जो है, he was basically Bairam Khan's son. Okay. So आपको ये समझ में आ गया, हुमायूं का जो रूल है, it was interrupted by the Sur dynasty. 15 साल तक he was exiled. He was exiled, okay, and he went from one place to another place. He went to one raja to another raja. He went to one king to another king, begging for help, and finally he was helped by the Persians, but only after Sher Shah Suri died in a freak accident. Okay, then Akbar came. Akbar जो है, he consolidated Gujarat जो है, he consolidated the areas of Gujarat, and he died in 1605, and he expanded the empires. He introduced the Mansabdari system. Then his son Jahangir was there. He was known for his manuscript paintings. बेसिकली पेंटिंग्स के लिए जहांगीर जो है जाने जाते थे, इसको याद रखिएगा. Jahangir's son was Shah Jahan. He built the Taj Mahal, the Red Fort, the Jama Masjid, and the architectural golden age जो है, it was during Shah Jahan's era. Shah Jahan was also an efficient general. He also led many campaigns on behalf of Jahangir. Okay. And then came Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb was the last great ruler of the Mughal Empire. He had a long campaign in Deccan and he died at the age of 90. इसके बेटे पहले मर गए. Aurangzeb's son died before him, 2 years before him, and he rebelled. His name was, Aurangzeb's son's name was Akbar, not his great grandfather. His son's name was also Akbar, and he basically had alliance with the Marathas. That Akbar जो है, he would be installed as a pro-Maratha Mughal emperor. And Aurangzeb was really, really pissed at this. And Aurangzeb said that इसको तो मैं बनने नहीं दूंगा. And it is very comical that Akbar died 2 years before Aurangzeb. Akbar was waiting for his dad to die so that he can assume the throne, and Akbar died 2 years before his dad. Aurangzeb said, okay, Aurangzeb said that, okay, Akbar was in south. Akbar जो है, he rebelled. Akbar, not the Akbar, that one, Birbal wala, not Jahangir's father. I'm talking about Akbar, the son of Aurangzeb. इसका भी नाम Akbar था. Okay, there is a different Akbar that we are talking here. Okay. So he died 2 years before his dad. Aurangzeb died at a ripe age of 90. And because of this, because of the Deccan campaign, the coffers, they got empty. Okay. इनका जो coffers था, वो क्या हो गया? वो empty हो गया. Okay. ठीक है. So that was the problem. Yes. So हाँ, you are correct. ये जो अकबर था, मोहम्मद अकबर इसका नाम था. So he basically went to the Safavids. उस समय साफावीड्स थे ईरान में. He went into that. Okay. मुझे आप बताइए, आप में से किसी को भी डाउट है अभी तक जो हमने क्रोनोलॉजी पढ़ी, हम औरंगजेब तक पहुंच चुके हैं, किसी को भी 1% भी डाउट है तो आप मुझे बोलिए. और जो भी सुबह में whosoever had expressed their concern in the morning class that they are not able to connect the chronology, were you able to now, are you able to connect something now? ठीक है, अब मैं कुछ और आपको इसमें बताऊंगा, क्रोनोलॉजी और क्लियर होगी आपकी. यहां पर उसके बाद जब आफ्टर दिस द मुगल एम्पायर, इट परसिस्टेड फॉर सम टाइम, बट दे वेर बेसिकली पपेट्स. Aurangzeb was the last great ruler. After them, no great ruler came. Twice, the emperors were blinded by their noblemen. So what happened was that regional power. So देखिए, ये this is very common thing. A big power, when it collapses, it leads to the formation of small powers. हमने पढ़ा था मगध में, मौर्यन में, उसके बाद हमने पढ़ा गुप्ता में. देन वी स्टडीड यहां पर मुगल एम्पायर के बाद स्मॉल रीजनल पावर्स लाइक मराठास. सो मराठास वेयर वेरी सक्सेसफुल इनिशियली and they were able to capture large parts of land. They were able to come to Delhi. Turning point for the Marathas, however, proved to be the third बैटल ऑफ पानीपत. सो मैंने कितने बैटल ऑफ पानीपत बता दिए? 3. द फर्स्ट वन वॉज बाबर वर्सेस लोधी 1526. सेकेंड वॉज अकबर वर्सेस हेमचंद्र और हेमू इन 1556. द थर्ड वॉज 1761 में आपका ब्रिटिशर्स, ये आपका जो था अफगान्स वर्सेस द मराठास. Okay, the Afghans versus the Marathas. Now, listen to me very carefully. There has been a question in GS1 mains, and the question is from 2013 mains, why earth-shaking battles and era-defining battles they're fought in Panipat? Why era-defining battles were fought in Panipat? What you can think? Geography is the number one answer. It's an inlet. Panipat is on the road to entry into India. दूसरा ये सही है, terrain सही है. It is a open flat land which makes it easy for big armies to fight. The second is that it has proximity to Delhi, and the main reason is it is inlet into India. That is where you will stop the invaders, because once they will get after Panipat, what is going to happen? They are going to come. Okay. Yes. All right. अब यहां पर आप देखिएगा तो किंगडम ऑफ मैसूर केम अंडर हैदर अली एंड टीपू सुल्तान. द सिख एम्पायर केम. अवध बंगाल also rose. So three important nobles of the Mughal Empire, Awadh, Bengal, and Hyderabad. All of these three rebelled and they said that why should we hear the Mughal emperor? He is nobody. उसको तो जान मार दिया. Okay, so उसको तो सही में he was killed. One of the emperors, he was killed by a Rajput king. Okay, what happened was that this person called Farooq Siyar was there, and he was killed outside. उसको बाल से पकड़ के बाहर निकाला गया, and he was killed on the front of Red Fort. आप समझिए क्या औकात रह गई थी मुगल्स की. What was the standards of the Mughals? So Marathas, Nizams of Hyderabad, Kingdom of Mysore, Sikh Empire also started. So whenever a big empire collapses, other small areas they rise up. So वही यहाँ पर भी हुआ. And finally, they all were replaced by the English. They all were replaced by whom? They all were replaced by the English. Okay. अब यहां पर आप देखिए कि यूरोपियन पावर्स में सबसे पहले कौन आया था? पोर्चुगीज आए थे 1498 में. एंड दिस वाज ड्यूरिंग द टाइम ऑफ द सेम पीरियड ऑफ विजयनगर एम्पायर. एंड कैलिकट में जैमोरिन था. जैमोरिन. Yes, you are very correct. The Portuguese were the first to arrive in 1498 and they were the last to leave in 1961. Okay. So it is, I think, called Samudhiri in Malayalam, right? It's written Zamorin in English and it is pronounced as Samudhiri in Malayalam. And Portuguese were the first to come. They were very brutal. They had come with the purpose of, they said that we are here from the purpose of God. We are here to propagate the name of Christ. And they had the Goan Inquisition. After that, the Dutch came, the Danish came, the French came. And the most prominent of them all was the British East India Company. They had their factories at Surat, Madras, Bombay, Calcutta, and then they fought Battle of Plassey against the Bengal Nawab. Okay. So ये जो है Battle of Plassey, that was the turning point. The Britishers, they held the lucrative territory of Bengal. They got a lot of incentives in Bengal. They collected tax and they became rich. And at one point, the British East India Company agents were the best paid people in the entire world. And Scotland, it was a poor province of the United Kingdom. It was a very poor area of the United Kingdom. And all the Scottish men, what they used to do was jump on a ship to India and come here to work. And this led to prosperity in Scotland. Yes, the French were the last to come. The French were the last to come in India. They tried their best, but they were not that successful. Why? Because of internal infightings and because of superior British strategy. Then they fought the Battle of Buxar and they secured Bengal. Bengal मतलब West Bengal नहीं होता है. Bengal meant Bihar, Odisha and the areas of Bengal and Bangladesh. ढाका से लेके पटना, पटना से लेके Odisha, everything was covered. Okay. So all these areas, they were very lucrative. Why? Because of textile trade. Because of textile trade, and due to this, they were able to get very rich. And then the EIC became the de facto rulers. There was some resistance, the Anglo-Mysore War, the Anglo-Maratha War, and the Anglo-Sikh Wars. But all of them were subdued by the British. Till 1857, the East India Company, it ruled. Okay, the East India Company, it ruled the region. But finally, the 1857 rebellion happened where the sepoys or the sipahis, they rebelled. Okay. And after that, EIC, which was a private trading corporation, it was thrown out, and the British Crown, they started to rule India directly. Okay. So British Raj mein the Viceroy replaced the Governor General. The Governor General was appointed as part of the EIC rule, and the Viceroy was appointed by the Crown, by the Britishers directly. And Queen Victoria was declared Empress of India. And this led to consolidation of British Empire in India. And finally, Gandhiji came. There was rise of nationalism, and then we moved towards independence. So this is the whole chronology. अब इसमें क्या है, मैंने आपको एक चीज बताई थी, कंटेम्प्ररी पीरियड्स आर आल्सो देयर. North and South India were having different empires at different time or at the same time. So एक चीज यहां पर देखिएगा, दिल्ली सल्तनत के टाइम पे in the south we had the Bahmani kingdoms and the Vijayanagar empire as well. Okay. And then we also had the Sionas of Devgiri, and also earlier we had the Kakatiya. So छोटे छोटे किंगडम्स बहुत सारे थे. छोटे छोटे किंगडम बहुत सारे थे. Okay, I'll repeat it again. There is the question, what is the difference between EIC and British Crown? I hope you're asking this. ये clear है सबको that Delhi Sultanate, while it was ruling in the north, in the south there were many other kingdoms which were coming up. Okay, so यहाँ पर आप समझिए that the EIC, East India Company, came here to trade. Yes or no? इतना समझ में आ गया? When they came, there was chaos. And when the traders, they saw that there is so much chaos, they started to dabble into politics. And once they were successful there, they controlled Indian territories as the rulers. So India was effectively run by a private corporation called the East India Company till 1857. Then the Britishers, the British government, it got jealous that, oh my God, this East India Company, how can they control a larger area than us Britishers? मतलब ऐसा समझिए कि रिलायंस जो है किसी कंट्री में ट्रेडिंग करने गया और रिलायंस वहां का राजा बन गया. Mukesh Ambani became the king of that place. So the Indian government became jealous and said to Mukesh Ambani, अब हटो मैं जा रहा हूं. ओके तुमने ये जो किया है दिस इज ऑन माई बिहाफ बिकॉज यू आर अंडर मी. तो उसी तरीके से EIC इंडिया वॉज रूल्ड बाई ए प्राइवेट कॉर्पोरेशन till 1857. They were removed and they were taken over by British government, the British Empire or the Crown. ओके अब यहां पर एक और चीज है. ये चीज समझ में आ गया आपको? व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट? ये समझ में आया? अब देर इज अनदर क्वेश्चन. EIC नेवर रूल्ड डायरेक्टली, दैट इज ऑल्सो ट्रू. सो व्हाट हैपेंड? EIC, they won the battle of Plassey and they won the battle of Buxar. So they were able to control large swaths of land. तो jealousy पहले से ही आ गया ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट में. सो इट स्टार्टेड टू सेंड इट्स रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स एंड सेड कि देखो हम देखेंगे हाउ यू आर रूलिंग, we will control something. Then they started to pass charter acts, something which is known as the charter acts. Every 20 years they used to pass this charter act, and with every charter act the powers of the East India Company was reduced little by little. And finally, in 1857, the East India Company, the private corporation which was ruling us, was dislodged on the pretext of dissatisfaction of the Indian natives and misgovernance, and they were totally removed. And then the British Empire directly started to form government here and control the areas. Is it clear to everybody? क्या ये क्रोनोलॉजी सबको क्लियर हो गई? मैंने बताया दिल्ली सल्तनत में याद रखिएगा उस समय विजयनगर, बहामानीस, अहमदनगर, these started coming in the Deccan. So मुझे नहीं लगता किसी को भी अब दिक्कत होने वाली है ऑलरेडी क्रोनोलॉजी में. जिन्होंने पूछा था सुबह में, आई थिंक प्लीज डोंट पैनिक. ओके कोई भी अगर प्रॉब्लम आ रही है तो उसका सोल्यूशन है. जस्ट लाइक यू हैड द प्रॉब्लम इन द मॉर्निंग एंड नाउ इट इज क्लियर. सो हैव पेशेंस, हैव ऑप्टिमिज्म, आई विल से.